everyone, and welcome to History in a Glass. My name's Janae, and this week we're going to be talking about rum. Now, rum has a dark and sordid history. It's all about colonialism and economic oppression and slavery. And to start it off, we have to go all the way back to the 7th century because you can't have rum without sugar. And the Persians and the Arabs were the ones that really created and perfected the whole art of refining sugar. But they weren't the ones that were actually doing the refining. That was the slaves. And so the slaves would gather all the sugar cane would be crushed and then strained, and then those bits would be put into boiling pots. And they would be left there in those boiling pots until the sugar actually crystallized, and then it would all be strained again. So now you would have your refined sugar, but you would also have a byproduct of that whole process, and that was molasses. And thus it went for many, many hundreds of years to refine the sugar. Now the molasses wasn't thrown away. The molasses was still sold as a sweetener, and fermented molasses, which sounds disgusting, was something that was often consumed by the slaves and the more economically oppressed classes in society. Now, at some point, we don't know exactly who did it or exactly when, but someone took that fermented molasses and thought, hey, I bet I could distill this. And they did. Rum was born. And there we go. So rum, huge hit all over the world. And it really started trending in the 1700s. Now, in the 1700s, we found out that the American colonists were drinking about 3.7 gallons of rum per person a year. That's a lot of rum to be consuming, and it was often used as gifts and perhaps almost as a little bit of a bribe. So there was a gentleman named George Washington, who I'm sure you've heard of, and in 1758, when he was running for the Virginia House of Burgesses, he freely gave out rum to all the voters just to convince them to vote for him. He ended up giving out 28 gallons of rum and 50 gallons of rum punch to help convince the colonists that they should vote for him for the Virginia House of Burgesses. By 1765, 4.8 million gallons of rum were being created along the United States, or what came to be known as the United States, the colonies, East Coast. And it was even more consumed and more produced than whiskey, even in cities like Boston, which I think, especially with the Irish population, was really known for its whiskey. But no, rum was king until the actual king, George III, finished the 7 Years' War, and he realized he had a lot of war debts, and he wanted the colonies to help pay for that. So he increased taxation, and he passed the Sugar Act of 1764, which basically forbade the colonists from importing rum. Obviously, this really upset everyone. And so in 1771, the Plymouth Molasses Party decided to protest, and they boarded a ship called Resolution, and they liberated 100 hogsheads of molasses. A hogshead is a big wooden barrel filled with molasses. It would have weighed somewhere between 800 and 1,500 pounds. Now, there was another protest, also with a ship, several ships, about 2 years after that, involving tea in the Boston Harbor, but the molasses did not end up in the water. That was reappropriated and turned into rum, as opposed to the tea, which went right into the drink. So now, as we go on, with this, obviously rum was very popular, but it became less so just because of all of those duties and taxation. And as a country, we decided to focus more on whiskey, and rum started to fall by the wayside a little bit in the Americas, mostly because we didn't want to pay those duties to the king, to Great Britain. Now, if we jump forward in time to a little more recent history, in 1960, Fidel Castro decided to seize all of the rum distilleries in Cuba, and the Bacardi company thought, we've got to get out of here. So they left and actually moved their headquarters to Puerto Rico. They also have facilities now in the Canary Islands, in the Bahamas, in Mexico, in Brazil, all over the place. So it's funny that by not being able to work out of Cuba anymore, they actually ended up increasing their wealth and their range much more than they probably ever would have been able to if they had stayed in Cuba. So rum has really kind of run the gamut of everything. It's been through, kind of flowed through politics all around the world and cuisines as we go, and it has touched places both big and small. And when we're going to learn how to make our drink this week, we're actually going to talk about a very small little place in the British Virgin Islands, and it's called the Soggy Dollar Bar. Now, the Soggy Dollar Bar is a great little place, and they are famous for a drink that they invented. That drink is called the Painkiller. And the painkiller is very important because of a certain ingredient. But to talk about our ingredients, I obviously need ingredients. There we go. Now, obviously there's more than just alcohol, more than just rum in a painkiller, but the important thing is this stuff right here. And this is the rum that you should use if you're going to be making a painkiller, and it is Pusser's rum. Now, the British Royal Navy, all the way from 1731 to as recently as the 1970s, received 1 pint per man of rum a day. It was just part of their daily rations, and the purser would give them their daily ration of rum. And over time, purser kind of got nicknamed, shortened to pusser. So the pusser would give you your daily ration of rum, and this is where we get Pusser's rum from. And this is what you should be using if you're going to make a painkiller. Obviously, any kind of rum will work, but this is the most authentic way. So if we're going to make our painkiller, first we need some pineapple juice. So I'm going to be using my favorite shaker, a mason jar. So we've got half a cup of pineapple juice in here. We're going to put in 2 tablespoons of orange juice. We are going to put in 2 tablespoons of cream of coconut. Very yummy. And then we are going to put in 4 tablespoons of Pusser's rum. So we are going to get this all mixed up. And then we're going to pour it over ice. If you can hear that, my cat wants to obviously have some painkiller. No, you cannot have any. So here we go, and it looks pretty good, and it smells amazing. Like, it makes me think of vacation, all the coconut and the orange and the pineapple and the rum and everything. But the piece de resistance, you need a grating of fresh nutmeg. Oh, fabulous. Get that right on over there. Now, one more word of warning about Pusser's rum. I know this sounds like a commercial, it's not. Well, I do like to be authentic because, again, this was what the British Royal Navy used. You should know that there are 2 different types. You can get the rum in the normal everyday strength, which is 25% ABV. But when I saw that they had this, which you can see is the gunpowder proof Pusser's rum, and I thought, oh, well, this is great. This is more authentic. This is what the British Royal Navy actually used to have. Not realizing that this is 54.5% alcohol by volume. I was practicing this last week so I could do the video, make sure that everything turned out all right. And I thought, oh, this is great. And I drank the painkiller and thought, oh, this is delicious. And then I woke up 2 days later and you feel no pain drinking it, but you sure will the next day. So please drink responsibly, be forewarned, because this is very, very alcoholic. I'm all for authenticity, but you should eat like a baguette or something, probably several, if you're going to use this particular type of rum, or at least this proof, before you actually have your painkiller. Because again, no pain now, a lot of pain later if you don't have something to absorb it. So again, authenticity, yay. Hydrate, lots of water, some Advil, Tylenol, something like that. But in the meantime, this is an absolutely amazing, delicious drink. So hopefully you all enjoy it. If you are more interested in the British Royal Navy and maybe some etymology that comes from sailing and from the Navy and ships and all of that, then you should check out next week's episode of Etymology Today with Janae. I'm going to be talking all about sailing and words and phrases that have come from that. But in the meantime, let me know in the comments what your favorite rum drink is, or if you get a chance to try the painkiller. So cheers to everyone and have a great weekend.